Everyone, Pastor George here, and it's casual day in the office today. No, I just actually had to come in to get some little bit of work done, and man, it's good to be back. Well, anyway, today we're going to continue our little series on justice, and so we talked about how what can happen if we seek justice kind of wrongly or without a discerning mind. We talked about how we should seek justice because God commands us to. And yesterday we talked about what happens to us, right? What will happen if we do not act justly. And today I'm going to talk again about another famous passage from the Old Testament where God will bring judgment on people, but that it's much of a what can we do, or how do I phrase this the best way? Excuse me. Gosh, what can we do to make sure that we are checking our hearts to see justice? I think that this is probably to seek it and push for it. And I think this is one of the best passages. This passage was made really famous by Dr. Martin Luther King in one of his speeches. I can't quite remember which one, but it comes from Amos, the prophet Amos, which is in chapter 5, and we'll do. We're going to actually give the context because Martin Luther King only quotes one verse of this, but I want to do the full thing. So we're going to do verses 18 through 27 in the book of Amos. So I'll put it up here on the screen, and you can just read along with me. Woe to you who desire the day of the Lord. Why would you have the day of the Lord? It is darkness and not light, as if a man fled from a lion and a bear met him, or went into the house and leaned his hand against the wall, and a serpent bit him. Is not the day of the Lord darkness and not light, and gloom with no brightness in it? I despise your feasts, and I take no delight in your solemn assemblies. Even though you offer me your burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. And the peace offerings of your fattened animals, I will not look upon them. Take away from me the noise of your songs. To the melody of your harps I will not listen. But let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Did you bring to me sacrifices and offerings during the 40 years in the wilderness, O house of Israel? You shall take up Sukkot, your king, and Kiun, your star god, your images that you have made for yourselves, and I will send you into exile beyond Damascus, says the Lord, whose name is the God of hosts. So here we have a little bit of a the ESV itself has this little part as like let justice roll down, and obviously the let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream is a really beautiful imagery, right? But what does that actually entail? Well, in this it entails Israel being judged and then sent off beyond Damascus, so to Babylon, right? Because of their idolatry. And so what are we how are we to respond to this, right? We can say, oh, it's really nice that God is bringing justice to us, that he is that he wants justice, and it's beautiful imagery to talk about it. But when that ever-flowing like waters or ever-flowing stream hits us, it's not maybe as nice as we would have liked it to be. But I think what this passage has to show us for today is that we have to want this to happen, right? We have to want justice to roll down like waters and righteousness to flow like an ever-flowing stream, because that means that we are living in covenant with God, right? That our society is moving, and we should want God to do that. We might not want it to happen the way it happened here in this passage or whatever, but we want it to happen. And I think that that's something that we should kind of struggle with. And what does that look like in our society? Does it look like something that has to be violent? Can it be peaceful? I would err towards following Jesus. What did justice look like for Jesus, right? Well, it was about cleansing the sick, speaking truth to those who needed to hear it, right? Correcting false teaching, and ultimately dying for your enemies, right? And that's a difficult thing to do. But I think that's the type of justice that we are called to partake in, and especially knowing that God has got us in the end. And that's kind of what we're going to end our little series on justice about tomorrow. Hopefully this has been interesting to you, and I will see you then.